Hello and welcome to another episode of Geared Toward Gear. My name is Sean and I'm so glad you're here. Today we're talking about the Benchmade Proper. We're going to talk about the model in general, but really we're going to focus on this guy right here in the middle, the new kid on the block, the model 318-2. They also make this in a 319-2 with a sheep's foot blade. And first things first, this was generously donated or kind of put up to our pass around group, not by the manufacturer as would be typical, but by Zach from Zach Stuff. This is his personal knife, and he offered it up to the entire pass around group. There's like 35 people in this group, to send this thing across the country to whoever wanted to take a look at it. And I could not be more grateful. It was a very gracious act of him to do that. So thank you, Zach, for your generosity. If for some crazy reason you're subscribed to me and not Zach, I would find it hard to believe because his channel is pretty freaking awesome. But if for some reason that's the case, I'll have a link to his channel below. Definitely go subscribe. He's a wonderful part of the EDC community. He does a lot of good stuff. So please do subscribe to his channel. So thanks again, Zach, for the opportunity to take a look at this because I'm digging it. And also, I'll make no apologies for the fact that I'm a huge fan of the Benchmade Proper. I own these two. I purchased these two. I actually also bought a third one that's currently kind of in shipment on its way to me, which is the blue G10 with black DLC blade. So I've bought 3 of these. I obviously like the Benchmade Proper. I like slip joints. And so I was very excited to hear of the announcement of this and to get one in hand to take a look at. So let's do what we typically do and give the quick version, price, basic dimensions, and then we'll move into some size comparisons, some objective stuff, and then I'll give you my overall feelings. So what we're looking at here is the model 318-2, and here's the box there, 318-2 proper. And the overall length on this guy is 6.65 inches by way of a 2.82 inch blade, a 3.85 inch handle, comes in at 2.16 ounces, carbon fiber handles, S90V steel, and a cost of about $204, $205. So there's your short version. And the price may provide some sticker shock, and if you just saw that, speaking of shock, there's a little flash of light. There's a little thunderstorm going on outside, and so, you know, this is real life, and I kind of do these in one take, so I apologize if there's any flickering of lights, but we're gonna power through this thunderstorm, and hopefully it doesn't disturb the video. But yeah, sticker shock, I think for a lot of people probably, seeing a small slip joint knife with carbon fiber and good steel at such a high price. I'm going to talk about that pretty thoroughly a little more towards the end to kind of put that in perspective and give you my honest thoughts on whether or not I would spend my money on one of these knives. I love it. I'll say that right off the bat. But would I personally purchase one of these? We'll find out. So let's start at the blade. Actually, you know what? Let's do some size comparisons. So let's bring in a mini Griptilian and see how they stack up. They're going to be very close in overall length. As I line these guys up, the mini Griptilian is about 1/8 of an inch longer overall length. Very, very close in overall length. We'll take a look at the Rat Model 2, which is going to be a bit longer in overall length by about 1/2 inch. Not terribly dissimilar. And then lastly, we'll do the Victorinox Pioneer with the main blade open. They are very, very close. Again, probably 1/4 of an inch difference with the Proper being the longer of the two. So there's a few size comparisons for you. One other thing I want to mention really quick about the Benchmade Proper is that you have 2 options for blade shape. As you can clearly see, you've got a clip point or a clip blade and a sheep's foot. When it comes to the model numbers, anything with a clip point to it is going to be a 318. And anything with a sheep's foot is going to be a 319. If it has micarta, it's just going to be the number, right? Just the model number, in this case, 319. So this one right here in micarta is the 319, okay? If it has G10 handles, which this one came with from the factory, it's going to be a -1, okay? So it's a 318 because it's a clip point, and it's a -1 because it's G10. If it has carbon fiber scales, they are now the -2, which is the one we're looking at or kind of focusing on today. So micarta is just the model number. G10 is -1, and carbon fiber is -2. So just wanted to put that out there in case, sometimes there's confusion on model numbers and blade shapes and all that. So as far as specifications are concerned, I quickly went through them a moment ago. I'm going to slow it down just a little bit and kind of reiterate the dimensions here. Blade length is 2.82 inches, so it's sub 3 inches, and it's non-locking, so it's going to be friendly in a lot of locations. The handle length is 3.85 inches, and the overall open length is 6.65 inches. The weight is advertised at 2.16 ounces, and let's get a quick weight on this guy and see what we come up with. And that advertised weight is a bit lighter than the standard Benchmade Proper, either the G10 or the micarta version. So advertised at 2.16, and we are getting 2.12. So a very lightweight knife for sure. And just for comparison, let's go ahead and weigh the micarta variant, and we'll leave the lanyard and bead off of the scale to hopefully get a relatively accurate reading. 2.4. Okay, so not a huge difference. It's discernible. You can tell when they're in your hand that this one is lighter, but it's not significantly lighter. In addition, just so you're aware, the dimensions are actually different on a clip point proper versus a sheep's foot proper, but the difference is what I would call statistically insignificant, in that it's so minute, the differences in the blade length and the handle length, down to like 2/100ths of an inch in some cases, that they're all the same size. That's the kind of how I look at it, and the best way I could say it is they're all the same size. The differences are so minor that it doesn't even matter. So where you're going to see a difference or feel a difference really is going to be in the weight. So blade, beautiful clip point, stone washed, looks phenomenal, absolutely beautiful blade shape, can't get enough of it, love it, love it, love it. Your deployment method is a nail nick, as you can see, so it is a two-handed opener. The blade has a DLC or a diamond-like coating, and the blade steel is going to be S90V, which we will definitely talk about, and that will be a talking point as we get further into this, because that's one major upgrade. The blade does have a very purpose-built sharpening choil, which I love to see, and these blade shapes are just super easy to sharpen, so I do appreciate that. So everything about the blade, I'm just a big fan of personally for my preference and taste. When it comes to kind of a more traditional style knife or a modern traditional. As we move to the handles, they are obviously carbon fiber, and it is very, very nice carbon fiber, very well done, very well finished, nice and smooth, just fit perfectly to the liners. The fit and finish in terms of the interface between the carbon fiber slabs and the liners is flawless, and it just looks gorgeous. They also did blacken the hardware in contrast to the stainless hardware we see on all of the other propers to give it that kind of monochromatic look, which I do like on this knife quite a lot. In addition, another change they made is that they coated the liners. So all Benchmade Propers have stainless steel liners, and on the new model, the 318-2, those liners are coated, PVD coated, in what Benchmade calls bronze. I would call it brass or maybe even gold. It's definitely lighter in color than bronze, but regardless of what you call it, it looks really nice. It's a really nice contrast between the black of the carbon fiber and the stainless on the back spring. So I think it's a really nice touch. It's tasteful, it's classy, it's not gaudy, it doesn't jump out at you as like gold everywhere. It's just very understated and tasteful, and I can certainly appreciate that. There is a true half stop on any Benchmade Proper. The pull, for me, is kind of perfect. I'd say 6 out of 10, probably. And it snaps in nice and strong. Back spring tension, for me, is kind of right in my sweet spot in that it's strong, but it's not too strong, and it's not too weak. And again, it has that true half stop, which I really like. Just all the fit and finish, the centering on the blade, just everything about it is very well executed, and that I appreciate. But the big thing here is the blade steel. Carbon fiber is great. The PVD liners, coated liners are great. The DLC on the blade is great, but the blade steel is the major upgrade, and that's where you're going to see that jump in cost. So let's talk about that for a minute. I think before we talk about how much this knife costs, we need to understand where we're starting from. Okay, so any standard, what I'll call standard Benchmade Proper, either in G10 or in micarta, is going to cost you $119, $120, basically anywhere you look. So that's where we're starting. You may disagree with that price, the starting price, and that's fine. If you think that's too expensive, overpriced, whatever, I totally respect that. I personally get enough joy and performance out of these knives that I am more than happy to pay $119 for a Benchmade Proper. That's just me. You may differ, and it's all good if you do. But again, before we start talking about the cost of this, I think it's important to know kind of the progression. So 120, we'll just call it 205. So it's an $85 difference in cost to upgrade from a standard Proper to the new models 318 and 319-2. So why so much, right? It seems really expensive. Well, it's the materials, and it's not dissimilar to what we see throughout the market. And I'll give you a couple examples. I'll give you one Benchmade and one non-Benchmade, just ones that I happen to have. This is the Benchmade 940, and this is the 940-2. So it's G10, and the blade steel is S30V. Okay, so this is the 940 equivalent of this, G10 and S30V. To get this exact knife in carbon fiber and S90V, you can do that. It's called the 940-1, and it costs $100 more than this. So this is about, say, $175. The other version is about $275, roughly. So it's a $100 price difference to go from G10 to carbon fiber and S30V to S90V. And here it's about $80 or $85. One other example would be the Native 5 Lightweight from Spyderco. This is also an S30V. This one has an FRN handle and costs about $97. You can get this exact knife upgraded to carbon fiber and S90V steel for about $235. So about $140 price increase to go from this essentially to that in terms of materials. Okay, so proportionally, the price increase is in line with what we see in the knife market. It's not just Benchmade who's saying we're gonna gouge you and jack the price up like crazy on this knife. So why would S90V command the price tag that it does? The main reason is that S90V is very hard to work with. It is a very wear-resistant steel, and by wear resistance, I'm referring to the steel's resistance to abrasion. Now, when you work with steel in knife making, and I'm not a knife maker, but when you make a final blade, your final product with all your grinds, your rough shape, then your shaping, then your primary grind, your secondary grind, all of that is done with abrasives, right? You're for the most part, there may be some water jets happening, but to do your primary and secondary grinds, you're using abrasives, and this is very, very resistant to that. So the manufacturing process, it tears up equipment, it tears up grinding belts, which are very expensive. And for that reason, S90V steel is costly to manufacture. And that cost is passed on to the consumer, which is us. So here's the kind of the good news. The wear resistance of a steel in practical terms for the end user results in very high edge retention. So this blade steel, this S90V, will retain its edge quite a bit better, notably better than S30V. It has 3 times the amount of vanadium, which is, S30, 30 times 3 is 90. So it's 3% vanadium versus 9% vanadium. But all that to say, you're going to get far better edge retention, abrasion and scratch resistance, corrosion and stain resistance from the DLC or diamond-like coating that's on the blade. So you're getting a lot of properties as the end user that can be useful to some people. Okay, so this is where the really big question comes in. Who needs S90V on a knife of this style? I don't know. It's kind of one of those questions that I can answer for myself and you can answer for yourself. I would say this. My opinion is that if you were going to carry this every single day, 7 days a week, and it is a true everyday carry, this to me is a no-brainer. Because it's going to hold that edge for freaking ever. It's going to be a pain in the ass to sharpen, but Benchmade has their Life Sharp guarantee. You can send it off to any other professional sharpener, or you can just strap it in for some time at the sharpening bench and do it yourself. Either way, it's going to take some time to sharpen, but it's going to maintain that edge for a long time. S90V is kind of in the same class of ultra premium steels like S110V, LMAX, 20CV, things like that. So it's a very, very high quality super steel, and that's why it's so much more expensive. Plus carbon fiber, plus the process for PVD coating, all those things go into the price. So I don't think it's unfair, and I think it's in line with what we're seeing from other manufacturers within the industry. Would I, Sean, buy this knife today with my money? I personally would not. And it's not because I don't love it, because I love it and I want it. And I want the one in sheep's foot too. I want all the propers, right? I want all the propers. They are unbelievable knives in my opinion. But for me, in the way that I carry my knives and use my knives, I rotate so frequently that I don't think I would see as much of the benefit and as much of the fruit from that increased edge retention for it to make sense for me. So an S30V blade that I carry once every 2 weeks is going to get me by just fine, and I can put a nice new edge on it very quickly and easily. So that's kind of my mileage. Having said that, if you're a carbon fiber junkie and you love carbon fiber, in my opinion, the only way to do carbon fiber or get carbon fiber for a Benchmade Proper is to buy a 318-2 or a 319-2. And here's why I say that. If you buy this knife for let's use this one. If you buy this for 120 bucks and you buy a set of aftermarket carbon fiber scales for $65, you've created a $185 knife with carbon fiber scales and S30V steel, which would be beautiful and it would work and it would be amazing. But it would be $185 to get there. If you really want carbon fiber that bad, spend the extra 20 bucks, right? Go from 185 to 205 and get a massive increase in your blade steel quality. So that's my opinion on kind of the carbon fiber aspect as well as the blade steel. It's a phenomenal steel. In the next few years, looking back, will I ultimately probably have one of these or maybe both of these? Probably, maybe, I'm not sure. But I say all this, let me kind of just summarize quickly and go ahead and end the video because I know it's gone on a little long. The price is fair, in my opinion, for what you're getting, kind of period, end of sentence. For me right now, and the way I carry my knives and use my knives, it doesn't make sense for me to buy one right now. But I think it's a great knife. I think it's an unbelievable knife, frankly. I am a huge fan. I've made that probably pretty clear at this point throughout the video. So that's my thoughts on the Benchmade Proper in general, and more specifically on the new model 318-2. And then also they offer this in the 319-2, of course, with your sheep's foot blade. If you're a slip joint, USA made, Benchmade, carbon fiber, any of those things, if you collect those sort of things, this to me is a must-have. It's just not that for me right now. So that's kind of where I landed. It's unbelievably beautiful. I love it. I want to own it, but I can't right now justify it based on the way I use my knives. So that's my overall take on the Benchmade Proper and the Benchmade S90V versions. Thank you again, Zach, so much for your gracious offer to send this around to the group. Thank you all so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.